Films, the home of high-powered, high-voltage motion picture entertainment. With the screen's biggest spectacles, brightest stars, and boldest lineup of explosive entertainment. We're taking motion picture excitement over the edge and your box office over the top. We're Cannon Films, and we're dynamite.
This week, we watched The Swap, starring Robert De Niro. Now, this film is a little bit special, isn't it, Matthew? Why do you think this movie exists?
This movie exists, as you said in our intro, as kind of a cash grab. It turns out, I don't know what point actually is that we actually did the previous film starring Robert De Niro, Sam's Song, but that was shot in like 1969.
Yes.
And this was put out in 1979. It's from 10 years later, and Robert De Niro by this point is already a star, basically. In 1979, he's been in Taxi Driver and everything else, right?
Mean Streets, all that stuff.
He's a big guy now, right? So the person who directed...
Jordan Leondopoulos.
Yeah, who directed Sam's Song. He wanted to basically get Robert De Niro in another film, or he just was like, you know what? I've got all this footage of Robert De Niro lying around from my crappy student film about a jerky dickhead and his friends going to a house in the Hamptons that was completely meaningless and garbagey, and I'm just going to put it in another film, pretend Robert De Niro's the star, and
have the other film be flashbacks.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big piece of garbage.
Yeah, that's basically what he decided. Now, to what extent he was put up to this by Cannon, we don't really know.
And when we say Cannon, we are talking about Golan and Globus. Because me and Matthew have had a discussion before of when did Golan and Globus, take over Cannon, make it the Cannon that we know and love.
Now, I believe that they generally accepted, not just by you, Justin, you think that it's just based off something you said.
Yes.
But I believe, based on my research, that people generally believe that they took control of the whole Cannon thing with the release of Happy Hooker Goes to Hollywood, right? Which is still a few films away at this point.
Yeah, it's like 10 movies away.
But through our watching of these films and the increasing appearance of Golden Globes productions, we have to accept that really can't be true.
And I think the key to this decision that we're making here, that Golden Globus took control, is the presence of Sybil Danning.
Yes. So we had Sybil Danning in Operation Thunderbolt, obviously.
We had her in God's Gun.
Yep. And then now we have her again in this, in a kind of classic lazy Cannon Films use of an actress, where she is playing one of the main characters from Sam's Song 10 years later, because that actress had also become a bit more famous. No, she wasn't Robert De Niro level, but she'd become more famous, too famous to be in a crappy cash grab. And so they just were like, replace her with Sybil Danning, because She doesn't look anything like her, but she's blonde, I guess. And the woman from the Samsung wasn't even blonde.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're just gonna, you know what? The people watching this movie are stupid to be here, so we're gonna continue to insult their intelligence.
So if you're kind of wondering why we decided to just kind of do a retrospective of the pre-Golan Globus era at this point, it's because we kind of have to accept that by this point, we're into the Golan Globus years. They haven't really got to any of the hot stuff that you would know them from. Like the Apple will come up in like 10 or 15 episodes or something like that. But I think we're definitely in the Golan Globus era by this point.
And the next movie we're watching is a Golan and Globus film. It's The Magician of Lubin. So, you know, they're there, they're in the background. They may be in control, but they haven't pushed all their projects to the forefront yet.
So, for example, the last film that we watched, Incoming Freshman, was an old student film that had been turned into a porno. And I kind of assumed that because this film is the same situation, old studenty film turned into new film as a cash grab.
Man, I wish it was a porno. The film is so boring.
There is no nudity in this film, correct?
Nope,
right?
none.
And which is interesting because they have a diamond opportunity for this movie to have a lot of porn in it, because the main character, who is pretending to be the main character, Robert De Niro, is playing a pornographer.
Yes.
Problematically, I guess, if you want to get a lot of porn in your movie, though, he's playing a child's pornographer. Because our hero, who's the main character in this movie exactly?
I don't know, Sam Spade imitator, like...
Some guy, basically, who is Sam's brother. He's gotten out of prison after 10 years, never explained why he was in prison in the first place.
Let's say he murdered some children.
Sure. I mean, better than watching them have sex on film, right?
Yeah.
And he's got out and he wants to get revenge for his brother's murder, because the way the film opens is exactly the same as Sam's song. Sam's song opens with Robert De Niro walking through the streets of New York. He gets back into his office. He starts to edit a film, except in Sam's song, he's editing like some crappy thing about corn and Nixon, right?
Yeah.
Or peanuts and I don't know. I can't remember what it was about. In this one, when he turns the footage on, you can hear like people having sex, but then a guy comes up behind him, unlike in Sam's song, and nips him in the head with a kosh, and he dies, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to this other guy, and he's like, I want to find out who killed my brother, and he goes into an investigation, and he bumps into this woman, who is pretty much the only person who has an interesting sort of side story, I guess, who is Lisa Blunt, or
Sure.
Blount, I'm not sure, who you...
And when you mean side story, you mean career, not in this movie.
Yes, true. I mean, career. In that she would most likely be known to audiences as being in John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
She doesn't like stand out in that movie or anything, but she's in it. I very strongly remember her from being in a Robert Powell mid-80s vehicle, What Waits Below.
Ooh, yes. What Waits Below is a screening that me and Matthew saw at the fabled 12-hour cinema marathons that we've talked about.
And we have mentioned this film exactly before, because this one played, I think, directly before one of my favorite movies that I recommended in the podcast.
Horror Hospital.
Horror Hospital. You haven't seen it? You should see it.
And what is it? What Waits Below?
What Waits Below
is famous for me and Matthew getting yelled at by people for being too loud while the movie was playing.
Because it was boring.
It was so boring.
Nothing happens. You want to talk during your movie marathon of bad movies.
We were not being Mystery Science Theater 3000. We weren't yelling it to the entire audience. We were mostly talking between ourselves.
Yes, it's pretty bad. But she's in it.
Yep, sure.
So there's that.
Man, we had some good laughs when we saw that movie.
And
unlike fucking this movie, which is shitty.
Yeah, it's true. And basically in this movie she plays a person who met Robert De Niro as a child, and then Robert De Niro, she does say he didn't want me to be in those movies. He still shot them and edited them, and made child porn with her, which is super grimy and gross. And then she falls in love, I guess, with the main character.
Instantly, the detective character. Who is so lame. I cannot put a point on how boring this movie is shot.
This movie's a real Rashomon, let's be honest. Because in this movie, first he goes to see Sybil Danning. And Sybil Danning tells the story of going to the club, not the clubhouse, the country house with Robert De Niro. She tells all this stuff from her own viewpoint, which takes quite a long time because there's a lot of footage of Robert De Niro. I honestly believe watching this movie, after the opening we saw Robert De Niro get hit in the head, I thought to myself, that's it. We'll never see Robert De Niro again.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow, trusted this director much more than I did.
No, he was just like, I'm just going to get as much use out of this footage as possible. She explains it from one angle, then he goes to see the husband
Who is in both movies.
in both movies, as is...
Because they're like, audiences can't tell women apart, but
Yeah.
man, woo!
But they do get Carol back as well, the other woman from
Yes,
that
they
movie.
do.
And he tells his version of the story. So it's a real Rashomon.
Oh, who cares? It's so boring. It's so. Can you imagine being the director and editing this? What goes through your head? Are you like, I have a family to feed, and I will do anything to put food in their mouth?
Well, I mean, considering the movie is like 40 minutes of Samsung's footage and about 40 minutes of new footage, which is cheaply and shittily done. He must have spent like about a week working on this.
Yeah,
and I
probably.
assume
Not
that,
less.
and I assume that in his head he was like, 10 grand or something. He's like, I'm gonna make thousands of dollars from this by selling it for distribution or whatever through Canon. So this is a
Would you
payday.
do that if someone was like, Matthew, I want to do a new podcast, but Justin died in a terrible accident. Will you edit yourself reacting to Justin but having other comments? We will pay you $10,000.
Well, I thought it would be very funny if we just reposted the Samsung podcast, edited with some new stuff of us in it,
Yeah.
saying that didn't happen in this version or whatever.
Yeah.
But
That
then I
takes
thought
a lot of work
that was
for
gonna be
Samsung.
that was going to be a lot of work. So, I mean, yeah, I would continue to
You do it even if it was like
pump your
racist
corpse
and
for
stuff
money.
Like that. Whoa.
Just continue the podcast with a dead Justin for as long as required. Yeah,
So,
sure,
like,
for money.
You need to finish those canon. Like, they're like, we need you to finish the canon stuff. So we're gonna recontextualize stuff that Justin said.
Yeah.
All right, we done with this movie? This movie sucks.
No, there's a couple of things in this movie that are worth pointing out, I think. There's a sequence where he talks about eating mayonnaise and peanut butter sandwiches, which I was like,
I know some people who get off
where does this come from? And then Carol's response to that, she's trying to seduce him, I guess, is to ask him, because he was in prison, if he was gay. And he's like, I'll show you how gay I am when I can't remember.
Slap your butt.
Yeah,
or something like that.
and then she starts to take his pants off, and he goes, I can take my own pants off. Which I thought was very funny, it's sort of in an awkward way.
Does that turn you on?
You gay.
Sure. But I'll show you what kind of guy I am. I'm gonna make it with you anyway.
Then they used all that the footage of Robert De Niro. Remember the slow motion footage of him shooting
Of him
himself?
shooting himself, but they put like tinkly music over it for it to have even more emotion.
Yeah. What?
I was just gonna say, don't watch this movie. Guys.
Yeah, don't.
Come on, don't watch it.
Then at the end, literally the end of the movie is our hero watches the footage. It turns out to be footage of the husband having sex, I guess. It's not clear with who, but my assumption is it's gay sex because at the end, and please excuse my language, our hero meets the bad guy in the bath and says he calls him a murdering fag.
Ugh.
And then he's like, how much money do you have to stop me revealing this to the world or whatever? And the guy starts to talk, and he just immediately shoots him 2 times and goes, he didn't have enough money. Which is supposed to, I guess, seem really awesome and cool, but because of the homophobic rant he'd already given, he's kind of not on board.
It kind of sounds like he's very anti-homosexual.
Oh yeah, he really is.
And he's like, there's no money in the world that will keep me from killing you gays.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, he's been he's been shot somehow. It's never made clear how he got shot or stabbed earlier on, but they're driving away, him and the woman, the child porn lady, and she's like, you've got to stay alive. And he's like, she's like, I'm just here to the mountains, there's a hospital there. And he's like, and she's like, and then it ends with her going, I love you. And you're like, why? Why do you love this person? He's homophobic and was in prison for 10 years. And
What gets you in prison for 10 years in the 70s? Late
child
70s?
porn? I don't know.
Yeah, like murder? Murder is usually about 20, right?
Depends. Did he murder a black guy? It's probably less, right?
Oh boy.
Cannon? Nope.
Nope. Well, my name's Justin the Glue.
I was Matthew Kumar.
Thanks for listening.
You're an all-star.
Is that your new ending?
Yes.
Okay, then I said, have a good night. And what do you usually say?
Night, everybody.
That's right.